Hello there and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be going over Bride of Chucky, which is one of the most famous Chucky movies, and it's one of the ones that sent him into pop culture iconism. Like literally, I know the first three were a thing for a while and everybody thought he was so cool, but this incarnation of Chucky with the Stitch faces and the meta humor and Jennifer Tilly as his sidekick slash not even sidekick, like whole other companion, like holds up this movie, makes it great even. This is just the most iconic Chucky to me, and he's the most thrilling and scary and fun. It's the one that I always recognized growing up, and it was one of the first times that I'd ever seen or heard of this person as a killer whenever I was younger. So with all of that being said, let's get right into Bride of Chucky. This movie was released in 1998, and it was in the year that I was born, and it stars Jennifer Tilly as Tiffany Valentine, the girlfriend of Charles Lee Ray, who is played by Brad Dourif. So this is a different take on the franchise. It's been several years since the previous installment, and it does not focus on Andy. Instead, Chucky takes the front seat of this movie, and that's why it's called Bride of Chucky, because Chucky is now in the title, he is now the main character, and you totally get that with how they portray the film. And the dolls look so great, and I just love everything about this movie. The opening title is amazing, I love the song, and it's also perfect to set a creepy, eerie tone, and you know what you're about to get whenever you see the opening of this movie. I would argue that it's one of the fan favorites amongst the franchise because it definitely has that gore and that late 90s feel that's really fun, and I think that people kind of lose themselves in the sequels. They're not for everyone, but I happen to really love them. Anyway, I just think that this is such a perfect 90s era type of movie, and he does it so well, and it was brilliant bringing in a love interest for Chucky, and that she was psychotic, and that we learn is more of a fun character because of her emotional depth and her backstory, and she's mysterious, and just where did she come to be this person who has like this fucked up moral compass, and where she loves Charles but like still has all of these other things going on. That's an aspect of the film that I really appreciated. It's definitely got some dark tones in it like the first couple, but it is more of a new feel for this. It is stepping into a new type of genre, and that is more comedy, horror comedy aspect. That's not everyone's favorite take, but it happens to be one of my favorite parts of it. I'll throw this one on more often than not than some of the other ones, and I grew up with it, so it makes it that much more fun for me. The thing I love about this, like I said earlier, is that the dolls in this movie look so good. Whatever animatronics that they were using to make it, be able to be pulled off, it was awesome. I love the bathtub scene in the beginning. So whenever we're learning about the fact that she's kind of resurrecting him, and then he gets pissed that he's in the doll body and she doesn't really want to help him out, she's figuring out that it's the same shit. That's what I'm saying. She's complex emotionally, but she's also sick. He kills her and transfers her soul into the body of the other doll that she gets him as a joke to try to get her to realize that we're fucked. We're stuck in these bodies now. Now help me get out. And she, of course, is now on the same page as him, and it's a whole fun, hilarious, terrifying, action-packed, thrilled road trip event movie that pretty much happens after all of the opening. The introduction of Jennifer Tilly into this franchise and this movie is what makes Chucky movies so good for me. If they were just the first three, I still would really like them, but it's the fact that she changed this franchise forever. You can't say that she didn't. She absolutely does. And her feel is in every single one of these movies. Even though she's not in them as heavily in some of the other ones, I still really feel like that's my favorite parts of those movies, is when she's on screen. She always pulls my attention. She's an award-winning and nominated actress. She's an incredible poker player, world-class champion poker player. I just really love Jennifer Tilly, and I love her voice. I know that a lot of people don't, but I really do. There's just something special about it. It's intoxicating. It draws you in. She's this femme fatale that is really so enchanting. She takes that and so perfectly puts it into Tiffany and pulls off this kind of like elegant girl who ends up in this world where she's kind of living in a trailer trash lifestyle, and you can tell that she wants to be above that, and it's just great seeing this type of character being played by her, and I'm absolutely drawn in by all of it. It's so absolutely my favorite part of this movie, especially when she's in the doll body. She has the best one-liners, the best, kills. She's pushing Chucky to his edge. She banters back and forth with him, and she's quipping at him, and it's so fun because in the first couple ones, you never really feel like Chucky has a match. Like, whenever she's mouthing off to him, even though he killed her at the beginning, she's like, you fuck. Like, she doesn't let that deter her power angle. Like, I definitely think that they share the pants. If not, she wears it a little bit more often than not than he does. Even if she has to let Chucky think that he's wearing the pants most of the time. We all kind of know, like, what's going on. And I just love this relationship that they set up with. And also, can we mention Katherine Heigl? That's crazy. I can't even believe that she was in this film. I never knew that when I was younger. And now I'm such a big Grey's Anatomy fan that, you know, I went back one day and watched this movie and I was like, what the fuck? I think it's really fucking ridiculous and a lovable, you know, kind of story whenever it's coming to her plot line. I think that it's a really great way to kind of integrate them into falling into the hands of Chucky and vice versa. So her boyfriend and her are forbidden loves and they're not allowed to be with each other, and so they try running away because once the killers get turned into dolls, they need a way to get across the country to get the amulet so that they can get out of being dolls. And they pay Katherine Heigl and her boyfriend to take them, and there's this whole they don't know aspect, and as they're killing everyone along the way, I forget their names right now, I'm blanking, but they both think that the husband thinks it's the wife and the wife thinks it's the husband. They think that they're each other's killers, and neither of them know that it's Chucky and Tiffany, which adds to like the great mystery aspect and the suspense of it, but it's also a comedy aspect for us and for the dolls. And I love that they have this like sick meta humor in between them where they're trying to, you know, have a kill competition. And that's what I really love about Tiffany, is that she can play around with Chucky, and he brings out a side of her and she brings out a side of him that is really fun to watch in this installment. It might be one of the best Chucky movies ever made, if you ask me. And I know I've said this a bunch of times, but the look of Chucky, Stitch-faced Chucky, is the most iconic version. I mean, after being thrown into the fan and seeing him sewn together in the beginning, I just love how enchanting and terrifying he is. He keeps this look pretty much throughout the rest of the franchise, and I am not mad about that at all. To me, this is Chucky. I was absolutely terrified of him whenever I was younger. I remember going over to my friend's house once and her dad was watching this movie and I saw his face and I went, oh, he's back? And I think I actually said that exact same thing in one of my other Child's Play reviews. But man, I just remember that so vividly, and he was so scary. And the amount of blood that's in this movie I actually really love too. If you think about it, the kills are really great, especially whenever it comes to the one in the hotel with the ceiling and the glass and the blood shattering everywhere. Of course, it's crazy and ridiculous that there's a doll sex scene in here, but I mean, hey, this is a campy movie, and there's a whole other romantic aspect going on, and it's called Bride of Chucky, and it's kind of a comedy parody thing, so I totally bought into it. Whatever, man. They pulled it off really well, I think, and they're able to make it feel kind of funny, and they're able to work it in there, and I appreciate the way that it is, especially because the voiceovers of Brad Dourif and Jennifer Tilly are so good. I like the fact that Don Mancini incorporated a gay character in this one, and that it wasn't too noticeable, or they weren't trying to really push it, and they weren't trying to make you be like, oh, he's got a love interest, or like, you know, he was the main character that ended up doing the things or whatever. But just that there was a line of exposition where she had asked him one time about what was it like for him to have a boyfriend, and there's a couple of other little lines about that. So that's just small representation that I really appreciated, especially in the late 90s, and growing up and seeing that would really meant something to me. Now, whenever we're getting to the ending of this movie, that's actually one of my favorite parts, because it's so weird the way that they're like, they get into a fight and end up crashing this car and end up in a graveyard. Now that's the part that I like, is seeing the animatronics of the dolls battle so well together in this graveyard. It's such a creepy scene, and we've been traveling so hard to get here, and we finally get to the location, and we see Charles Lee Ray's body from the first one. And I love aftermaths. I love, you know, places where things have happened before. I've said that many, many times. And I love graveyards. I think I've said that too. And I love the vibe of this one, and how it's nighttime and it's kind of storming and gray. The wind is blowing and you really feel the atmosphere. And it's so creepy seeing his skeleton, and it's just a great callback and a great nod to the little amulet from the first movie. And, you know, whenever they're having that emotional turn at the end and she ends up portraying Chucky, it, to me, solidifies her as a character just even more than she was before because of that emotional depth and that arc. And you don't know how or where she's gonna go. You know, you can almost bet Chucky's gonna be an angry sociopath. She's so much more dimensional, and that's what I love about her. And she ends up kind of turning the tables on him, and he ends up getting shot in the end. We get one of my favorite lines where he goes, "Go ahead and shoot me or kill me," or whatever. He's like, "But I'll come back. I always come back." And he's like, "But dying is such a bitch." And it's like, that's classic Chucky. And then he gets taken out. And I thought that that was one of the best ways to end this. I actually really thought that this was the end for a while until we get that scene where she gives birth in the graveyard. And I thought that that was going to be the end of the franchise for a while, because when you're younger, you don't really get how sequels work and stuff. And even if this one didn't, you know, like maybe it didn't do well and never got a sequel, you know, it would just be a fun way to end it. But it absolutely was hinting and leading into one of the most controversial sequels. So that's definitely something I can't wait to talk about, because I have an interesting viewpoint on Seed of Chucky. I don't think it's by far a great movie, but there are some parts of it that I can really appreciate, and so I'll totally get into that whenever it comes. Well, that was my review of Bride of Chucky. I hope you were able to agree with some of my points, and let me know what you thought down in the comments. You know, how do you feel about this installment? Which one of the sequels has been your favorite so far? And which incarnation of Chucky is the most terrifying to you? I would have to go with this one. And just let me know what your favorite parts of this movie are and what works for you or what doesn't, you know. Okay, so I forgot to have this sitting in the video with me, but once again, this is my Chucky complete box set. It's got all 7 movies, and this time we're all the way up to the 4th one, Bride of Chucky. And I love this set. I was so happy to be able to get it. It was one of my favorite times ever walking into a store and getting a great find like this. And like I said, one of my favorite franchises, and if you can get it, definitely add it to your collection because it is definitely worth it. So be sure to check out some of my other videos. I've done a bunch of different genres, and I plan to do a bunch more, and I've even done some location visits and gone over some of the items that I have. I do a lot of live streams with my friends, and sometimes I do live streams with my friend Destiny. We try to do one of those once a month, and we'll do movie topics or just hang out with each other or watch movies live. So stick around for whenever those happen. I try to post links to them. I keep you updated whenever they're happening. And thank you so much for watching, and be sure to check back whenever I post something new. All right, see you next time. Bye.